This is mostly going to be us talking about the Raptorbot Chronicles and Metal Gear Solid, I think.
Actually, after the episode ended, I was like, I wonder what Dinobot was up to during this whole episode, because he doesn't appear.
That's what. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, whatever he was doing is probably more interesting than whatever's happening in the episode. I like the multiverse where Scorponok and Pterosaur are alive, and Quick Strike is not.
I feel like my life would have turned out differently if that had been the season 2 of Beast Wars that I had grown up watching.
I mean, I think it's safe to say that the whole world would have been in a better place.
Alert. Quantum surge detected. Vector 597.
Transformers, robotic life forms born far across the galaxy on the planet Cybertron. Two groups of their forces crashed on an unknown planet. A quantum surge then changed the Beast Warriors into Transmetals, who are joined by new comrades. Now, the Beast Wars rage on!
Too much Energon.
All spark guide you, Cybertronians. Welcome to Too Much Energon, the podcast where two Canadian guys in their 30s talk about the animated TV show from the 90s, Beast Wars. I am one of your hosts, NeoCal, and I am joined by my co-host, Christopher Siege.
Greetings, Maximals.
How's the Christopher Siege?
Very siege-like. Ready to take down some Predacon refueling stations.
Ready to siege the day.
Oh, damn it, it was right there in front of me.
Today we're discussing episode 4 of season 2, Tangled Web.
Not the movie Under Siege, starring Steven Seagal.
Fortunately, yes. I had to think about that for a moment. Tangled Web originally aired November 16th on 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher.
Yes.
Tangled Web.
Yes, Tangled Web, interestingly enough, was written by the late Len Wein, who is probably most notable for being the creator of both Swamp Thing for DC Comics and Wolverine for Marvel Comics.
Huh.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing and Wolverine.
Yep. Created Swamp Thing and Wolverine. Wolverine originally debuted as a villain in The Incredible Hulk. I think it might have been issue 187.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Same writer.
Yep.
Oh, that explains why everyone has retractable claws in this episode.
There it is. Putting it together.
Yeah.
I
don't mean to brag, but I'm the brains of the operation. Rip in peace. Yeah, so there's some shit going on in this episode.
Yeah, there technically is some shit going on in this episode.
So
this episode advances the plot forward a little bit. While still kind of also feeling like a throwaway episode at the same time. But we'll get into that later. So what happens here?
It starts with the dark side, and it's a cool zooming in shot with Inferno like swinging his gun.
Yeah, he's
like hovering in the air.
Yeah, he's doing the old Alex J. Murphy, like twirling his gun.
And Quick Strike is just hanging out, like on like a little like ledge. But the thing is, they're both over top the lava.
Yeah,
that's underneath the dark side. And as we've already seen, like this is extremely lethal. Maybe you guys should, make some bridges or move the parts of the base. They're just chilling over the lava.
Yes, we recently lost two characters that I like way more than either of these two, due to death by lava.
I would prefer Inferno and Quick Strike be dead than Scorponok and Pterosaur.
150%.
Voice actor? I like the voice acting. I like the insane aggro, but Inferno doesn't bring anything to the show.
No.
Again, like if some super fans are like listening, they get really defensive because people associate the voice actors with the characters. When we
Right.
had Candace on the show,
Yeah.
she straight up could not remove the idea of the actor versus like the character, right? And I
Well,
believe it's Jim Burns that voices
yeah, and I mean,
Inferno.
yeah, and in her defense too, like she's actually met these people and knows a bunch of
She
them.
knows them.
She knows them personally, so that I can kind of understand in her case.
But from an objective like standpoint, like I don't feel Inferno brings anything to the show.
No.
Whereas I feel like Pterosaur and Scorponok did.
Yeah.
Even if it were gimmicky tropes, right? Like Scorponok being like the right hand man and like the mad scientist.
Yeah.
And Pterosaur being like the skeevy Starscream. At least that brought something, but I don't really know what Inferno brings. A flamethrower? Being a cool ant?
He's got a big old booty that lets him fly.
That doesn't quit.
That doesn't quit.
Yeah, but Quick Strike, everyone's already heard me. Completely just, what was it? It was like 40 minutes of me complaining about Quick Strike last.
Yeah, yeah. Last week's episode was a chunk of an episode.
I don't remember it much. That's how much I don't like the Fusors episodes. Anyways,
I don't remember it much either, and I even listened to the episode last weekend, like the completed, like fully edited episode. I listened to it while I was out and about last weekend.
I don't think that we were boring, or at least I don't. I hope not. The episodes are so bleh, so meh. Maybe I don't know.
I've heard it said that the consensus amongst the Beast Wars fandom is that season 2 is the best season of the series, and I'm not seeing it so far. Now I do know that
I'm not seeing it yet.
I know there are good episodes to come in the season, but so far we are now 4 episodes in. And I think I liked Aftermath more than you did.
Yes, you did.
But I definitely was not a fan of Coming of the Fusors Part 1 and 2. And I guess spoilers for the end of this podcast, but I'm not a fan of this one either.
Uh-oh.
Yep. There is, I think, one thing in this episode that I really like, and I'll point it out when we get there.
Yeah, Megatron opens with, "Eager to begin another glorious Predacon day, are we?" And I'm like, dude, everybody's afraid of you. Why are you acting so nice half the time? It's like the whole, like, whenever you think you can be, like, friendly with, like, Megatron, he, like, smacks you in the head and knocks you off the terror board.
Right. I like that Tarantulus shows up and is basically all like, "Why the fuck did you call me here? I have better things to do, bud."
I have Tarantulus things to do.
And Megatron's just like,
"Excuse me."
"I'm sure you do, but I have something more important for you. Yes." And yeah. Apparently he's found some Energon cubes in Grid Arrakis, is what he's calling it.
How fortunate that he is sending the arachnids there.
Right. I know. When I heard that earlier, I was like, ugh, really?
Oh.
So yeah, he wants basically Megatron wants Tarantulus and Black Arachnia and Quick Strike to go to this like large cache of stable Energon cubes that he's found and build a refueling station. And I'm like, okay, send the 3 arachnids, the 3 most treacherous members of your team.
Maybe the way he's thinking is that he knows Black Arachnia doesn't like Tarantulus, right? He knows Tarantulus will be traitorous. and he wants to test to see how loyal Quickstrike is. So by sending them out, it kind of creates a perfect storm.
Mm.
And then whatever bullshit inevitably happens, when he gets his reports back, he'll know where Quickstrike stands, what happened with Black Arachnia, right? Like try to put the pieces together.
Right.
But to go against what I just said,
Well,
when has that ever worked?
well, Scorponok was loyal. Yes, this Quickstrike fellow is half Scorpion. Perhaps he will be half as loyal.
Which is still more loyal than half of the Predacons.
Which is more loyal than Tarantulus. Yes.
Is there anyone less loyal than Tarantulus?
I
mean, besides Dinobots.
The actual, like, full-fledged traitor.
Yeah. It's not that he was okay, so I think Dinobot's questioning of Megatron's command was valid, and he refuses to let somebody lead when he views them as incompetent.
Right.
Which is why he's fine in the Maximals for now.
I mean, when I've had jobs in the past and I've had bosses or supervisors that I felt were incompetent or less capable than I was, I didn't tend to listen to them very much. And I'd usually get fired.
Yeah.
It's happened many times.
It's weird how workplaces don't really operate on efficiency as much as you would think they do.
No, they don't.
They operate on like favoritism and
Yep.
Ego. Painful.
Yeah, basically.
But anyways,
a lot of the times it's basically like the yes men get ahead, even if they're fucking horrible at their jobs, but because they're yes men and will just do whatever they're told without questioning anything.
Well, from what I've learned in the professional business sector of things is that yes men are more valued than competent people that might question them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Maybe I need to go to management school to find out. But
well, see, the thing is if you have people who are too competent and aren't yes men, they will eventually start questioning
your tyrannical lead.
Too much to the point that they start being like, why do we even need this person anymore? Like how about how about I just take charge?
That's a good point. I have literally seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've never heard it put into words before, though. I have actually seen that happen, where they fired the person that was like slowly just replacing and making middle management obsolete.
Right.
Yeah, weird.
I had in one of my first retail jobs, I had someone tell me, because I was kind of like stuck in the middle of this like power struggle between like the department manager and the assistant department manager. And like I didn't really understand what was going on, like why they were butting heads so much and like why I was being dragged in the middle. And like I started to see like a lot of redundancies in their roles and yada yada. Long story short is that this one coworker who had been there for years and years and years told me, he's like everyone in any level of management basically need to always justify their existence.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I'm like, huh. So I kind of took that to heart, and that's something that I've observed in just about every job I've ever had since. Yeah, anyway, that's my little spiel there.
And then there's my old workplace, which will remain unnamed, that when they realize middle management is like redundant and that like people underneath are taking on additional tasks, instead of paying them more and getting rid of middle management, they open up a whole bunch of new positions that are in between middle management and front of house
Wow.
to take care of the small things that they can delegate tasks to. So as a result, there's kind of like a couple people like in management essentially like doing nothing. 6 people just underneath them that are like working their asses off and running around, taking responsibility for everything.
Right.
And then the front of house, which is like also working just as hard, but is the bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
Anyways, shit talking my old workplace aside, because oh no, my old coworkers might be listening to this. Man, I made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle joke one time. And have you ever felt like you're truly old? And most of the time it's like if the age difference is 15, 10 years, I can usually feel, right? But when I
Yeah,
was like
totally.
28, 29, I made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference to people like 5, 6 years younger than me. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
22, 23, 24. Not a single one of them knew what I was talking about. And I was like,
Insane.
Cowabunga, dude. Like sewer, like pizza loving, like sewer turtles. And they like looked at me, and I like looked at all of them, and they were all like 20 to like 24, and I was like 28, 29, like not that much older than them. And I'm
Right.
like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I just stared at them, and one of them, the closest one to my age, was like, "Oh, wasn't that like a CG or like a live action movie that came out a while ago?" And like 1,000 brain cells in my head just kind of like committed suicide. And I was like, how is it possible I'm like 4 to 8 years older than everyone else here, and none of them even know what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I thought I was being mass trolled, but no. And I showed them pictures, and one of them was like, "Oh yeah, I kind of remember that like cartoon or something." And I was like, "Wow,
That's kind
I
of
guess I'll just kill myself."
that's kind of wild to me, because like that's a property that has never gone away.
No,
Like there was the cartoon in the 80s that
it was wild to me too.
there was the cartoon that ran from like I think it was like 87, and that shit ran until like 1994. Like that show went on a long time. And then there were the 3 live action movies from
Yeah,
like
which are fucking
1990
great.
from like 1990 to 1993. There was the live action TV show in like 1998. There was that Nickelodeon cartoon in the early 2000s. And then there was another cartoon in the late 2000s. And then there've been like 2 more cartoons in the past like 10 years. And a bunch of like, there was that animated CGI movie that came out in like 2007. So like, it's a property that hasn't gone anywhere. Like,
Yeah. So when I mentioned this in like 2018, I like stared at them in like disbelief.
Yeah, that's it's like, really? Like you guys didn't even watch the like CG movie from like the mid 2000s? Like I don't know.
I had a different scene of people, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like our scene of people like no reboot, no Beast Wars, no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, have friends that like play Dungeons and Dragons, have friends that play Magic the Gathering, buy comics, right?
Yeah.
And I guess they were just the kids that, oh, I don't know, like went fishing with their fathers that were still around. Or were part of the running club.
Played sports ball in
education.
In education, yes. In learning schools.
Speaking of learning schools, Megatron sends the 2 smartest individuals to go construct a jamming tower.
Yeah. Yeah, he sends Waspinator and Inferno.
Yeah, like I said, the 2 most educated of the Predacons to go construct a jamming tower.
Yeah. And
to disrupt maximal communications.
Yeah, and Tarantulus is all like, "And what precisely are you doing?" And Megatron ominously is all like, "Planning for the future." Dun dun. That feels like it's planting some seeds.
As you command, my queen. And Megatron goes, "Oh, I do wish he'd stop calling me that."
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, he doesn't say this to Inferno. He just like sighs and says it to himself.
Yeah, why doesn't he just like if it bothers him that much, why doesn't he just like
Smack him and say, "Never call me that again."
Yeah, I think he deep down secretly kind of likes it.
Yeah, he likes being equivocal to
Monarchy.
royalty. Yeah, but he doesn't want to like smack him and go, "Never call me queen again."
Yeah.
And besides, I look fabulous in these heels.
Check me out in my tiara. Yes.
So quick, like you
I
said,
am a princess no longer. No.
No,
I am your queen.
I am your queen,
Your fabulous queen. Yes.
especially in my shiny new duds. So Tarantulus says, "So Megatron means to persist in his madness,"
Mhm.
and I assume he means, in the continuing engagement with the Maximals. Do you know what he means when he says that?
I think what he means is like since late in season 1, like Megatron has clearly been up to something. Like he knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
And like everything he is doing seems to be working towards some goal that hasn't been revealed to us yet, or even to any of the other characters in the show. And I think that's what Tarantulus might be alluding to. Is like, oh, Megatron is going to continue pursuing like the same bullshit he's been after all along.
Oh, that we got a glimpse into. What were the 2 final episodes of season 1 called again?
Other voices.
We got a glimpse. Man, I was impressed by Megatron. He was truly like a Bond villain, like sitting back and like watching all of the pieces fall into place with that. I commend the writing for that.
Pieces falling into place, just like pieces of Optimus flying through space.
Exactly as intended. Goodbye, Optimus. Yeah, he didn't seem too surprised when he saw Optimus back. He was like, "Get him!" I was surprised there wasn't like that cartoon. You know the cartoon running sound that's like, I can't recreate it. Like the cartoon like slipping or running sound or whatever that like
the
people,
Roadrunner sound.
Yeah, but like you could also like shake your head in disbelief to it. I imagine like he would stop and like shake his head, and that like Roadrunner like running sound would like play, and he'd go, "Optimus, what are you doing here?" Because but a lot happened really quick. They needed to progress the plot, get him back, get things going. I understand that.
This season is like only half only has half the episodes of season 1, so. And
correct.
And this season is much more serialized than season 1, so they've got to,
which is good.
It's good. So they got to kind of move the plot along, which this episode does. And like I said, also at the same time feels kind of like filler, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like filler, we joined the Predacons as they're like assembling like supplies, like beams and like girders and like supplies, right?
Inferno has a dish on his head.
Oh, for the satellite disruptor. Right. And Tarantulus is talking to himself, bitching about Megatron. Megatron is continuing with this madness and expects me to carry out such a menial task.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's keeping you busy because he knows you're a shitlord.
I like how Inferno and Waspinator fly away like carrying components, and Waspinator is all like, "Oh, Megatron will be pleased," or something like that. And Tarantulus is like, yes, and we do just live to please Megatron, don't we?
See, that's why part of me likes only part of me likes Tarantulus is because I'm like, well,
He gives no fucks.
I feel like Black Arachnia and Tarantulus are, speaking of, you know how we were bitching about like workplaces and stuff,
Right.
they remind me of the people that are at like the job like 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they keep their head just above water to not get fired, but are kind of just like done. What I mean to say is their attitude about this, like how they engage with Megatron, reminds me a lot of my workplace when I was in my like 8th, 9th year.
I've only been at my job now for 3 years, and I kind of vibe with that mentality.
You're feeling like Tarantulus and Black Arachnia here?
Yep.
Yeah. Me too.
I can tell you more about that off air.
All right.
Uh,
So the show tries to be like egalitarian, but then the show also has Quick Strike call Black Arachnia a sugar bot.
yeah.
And that's not to say it's not okay to, because that kind of stuff exists in real life, right? But I like how Black Arachnia like leads him on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, she plays into it, like, just to get him, like, hook, line, and sinker to do shit for her.
Have a loyal, like, thirsty dude as one of your white knights, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so she basically says, like, she's divided the cargo that they have to carry into, like, 3 equally portioned trailers, and she basically manipulates Quick Strike into being all like, oh, I'm a big strong man. I'll take extra off of your hands because you're a dainty little lady. And she's all like, oh, I do declare, basically.
And Tarantulus is like looking from on the outside because he knows Black Arachnia.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He's like,
He knows
oh,
what she's up to.
he face palms hard, like watching. He doesn't stop it, but he's just like, oh my god, okay, whatever. And how like Quick Strike is, man, that's like me, like observing 19, like 20-year-olds in a bar, being like clearly manipulated by like women around them to get free drinks.
Right.
Oh man, I wonder how many drinks I need to like give this girl for her to hang out with me.
I never
Question.
I never fell into that trap when I was in my early
No,
20s
my
and going to
favorite
bars
was-
and clubs a lot.
My favorite was turning and telling a guy, I was like, oh dude, like, don't buy this chick drinks. She just tried to hit me up for a bunch, right? And then a girl coming, sitting on a guy's lap, blah, blah, blah. Oh, buy me a drink. Oh, okay. Goes and buys her a drink, right? Comes back with it. She's like, oh, thanks. Sits up, takes the drink, and like walks off to talk to some like other dudes, like not even in the friend group.
Ooh.
Ooh. And I turned to him
Ooh.
and I was like, I made that kind of like, ooh, like as if he just got burned, like face. And he just like shrugs. And I'm like, I told you though. I told you she just like tried to bug me for a drink.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I tried to help a brother out. You could lead a horse to water.
Speaking of which,
Anyway.
Tarantulus goes to beast form and like gets out his like
I don't like his beast form.
His spider wheels out and hooks up to the trailer. And
I feel like he's much better suited to haul cargo with his new transmetal beast mode.
Totally. Well, and he's like way
tank.
Yeah, he's like way bigger than
The others.
either Black Arachnia
Much
or
bigger.
Quick Strike.
Was he always much bigger, or is he exceptionally bigger in his new like transmetal form?
He was a bit larger than Black Arachnia in
But
season
not
1.
this much bigger,
No,
right?
he's like twice her size now.
Yeah, he's huge now.
Yeah.
And Quick Strike's a little dude.
And
Which is weird because cobras are huge, but whatever.
And yeah, Tarantulus is all like, Well then, partner, let's hit him up and move him out.
Oh, doing an impression
Of Quick Strike.
Quick
yeah.
Strike.
As he like zips on by.
I liked that. So, holy shit, is the Axelon in bad repair?
Yeah.
It looks. Fuck, that looks bad, man. It looks bad. Like, they might as well not even live in it.
Right.
Wow. It is decrepit as fuck.
Well, I mean, it's the only house they have, so.
Fair enough.
So, Rhinox is trying to do some science on Optimus. Optimus is standing in this, like, little chamber thing with some tubes hooked up to him, and Rhinox is basically just like, well, we don't know how their transmittal bodies are, what they're all about, so we gotta do some science on you, big bot.
Yeah. And he plugs in a cable.
Yeah.
To a battery that already has like 8 cables, and he electrocutes himself.
Yep.
And Optimus. They both cry out in pain. Rhinox goes flying backwards, and then they both just kind of recover like so nonchalantly. They go, "That was weird."
Oh, you know what we forgot to mention in the last scene was that Tarantulus decided to throw a like tracking device into one of the
Did I miss that?
one of the cargo things.
Did he do it that scene? Oh, he fucking did, and I missed it. Yeah, he throws this thing, and he throws it right behind Black Arachne and Quick Strike, and I'm like, bro, they could have seen that.
Yeah, he's basically all like, I don't like what Megatron's up to. Let's bring the Maximals into this. And yeah.
Can you tell how much we paid attention, listeners?
Right.
That's very important to the plot, by the way.
It is. It's extremely important. The rest of this episode does not would not transpire as it does.
Well,
it may have been a better
Cheetor-
episode.
Can't believe we forgot like the literal plot point of the fucking episode. Yes, there's a tracking device that Tarantulus plants, and he says, "Oh, this would be interesting if we brought the Maximals into the mix."
Yeah.
And speaking of Maximals, Cheetor vid windows the bridge with Optimus and Rhinox in it, and he says, "Hey, Big Bot, I'm picking up a weird signal."
Yeah.
It's a pred code, but it's on a maximal frequency.
Yeah, and Optimus is like, who's closest? Oh, Rat Trap and Silverbolt. Great. Get them on it.
Yeah, I can fucking fly, and so can you, but you know what? Fuck it. Let's send let's send the rat and the Fusor.
And the Bird Dog. Yeah.
Yeah, Bird Dog.
Man, okay, they say Fusor so many fucking times in this episode.
That's why I hate that word. It seems like it should be said fuser, but they say Fusor, right? Is that how they say it?
Yeah.
I don't like that word.
Like laser versus Lazor. Laser
Like Lazor Comb Productions.
Exactly.
Like I'm a fire in my Lazor.
Yep. Listeners, it's pronounced Lasercomb, but it's spelled Lazor.
No, you pronounce it Lazor. Prove Christopher wrong. Somebody tried to convince me that Nike was pronounced Nike.
Really?
And I grew up with everybody calling it Nike, and I'm like, even if that's true, I will never Google it to question that, because I can never pronounce that Nike.
I mean, that word, looking at it, would probably be pronounced Nike. Like, Mike, bike, etc.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Right. But it is a name of a brand, and that brand name is pronounced Nike. So
it is
therefore
absolutely 1000% pronounced Nike. Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, in that context, which I don't even know if it's a word otherwise, but in that particular context of the brand name, it is Nike.
Yes.
So fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy indeed. That is an ex-friend of mine.
Yeah, Cheetor radios Rat Trap and Silverbolt and is all like, oh, there's a pred signal at these coordinates. Optimus says, track and identify. And I'm like, no, he didn't. Those weren't the words that he used.
That's not. He said, go check it out.
Yeah. It's like Cheetor is like trying to be, is like being like all commanding, being like, Optimus says, track and identify. No, he fucking didn't.
Calm down.
Like, just because you got this like shiny new like beefy cat transmetal cat body, like maybe turn down the big dick energy a little bit.
Okay, calm down, Cheetor. Calm down, new guy. And Silverbolt, the shining beacon that he is, says, "We will get on it immediately, Cheetor."
Yeah, this show really likes pairing Scott McNeil with himself. Because, like, last season, it was always Rat Trap and Dinobot, both voiced by Scott McNeil. And in this episode, it's now Rat Trap and Silverbolt, both voiced by Scott McNeil.
It's easier to get the lines.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think I've said this before, but, like, I just like to imagine him, like, in a recording booth, literally just talking to himself in real time.
Switching
voices.
back and forth between the voices instead of doing one set of lines and then doing the other.
Yeah.
He's just switching back and forth in one solid recording.
Yeah. I would love to see that. It would probably be a better way to consume this episode, honestly.
I wonder how that works, because I mean, I know that there are a few Simpsons voice actresses that are literally talking to themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a LARP coordinator and storyteller / GM, don't mean to brag, but I flip back and forth between NPCs, like characters, a lot, and to the point where I'm talking to myself, and it feels weird. But if I keep my head in character in the game, it's less so. But if I'm not that into it, I'm like, this is weird. I don't want to do this. Like, I should talk to the players. But if I'm completely like committed, it's very easy.
Right.
So that might not be outrageous. Like he might actually just be in a recording booth by himself, like talking back and forth to himself.
I certainly hope so.
Dare to dream.
If he ever does like a Reddit AMA or something, I'll be sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
So Silverbolt, being the paladin that he is like, because that Rat Trap is like, it sounds like a wild pred hunt to me. And Silverbolt's like, perhaps so, but our leader, what does he say here?
Has charged.
But our leader has
charged us to learn the truth, and
and Silverbolt, for one, shall prove worthy of his trust.
Right. And then
I'm like,
and then it plays this like
medieval like trumpet kind of night song.
Yeah, and Silverbolt flies away, and I'm like
very slowly.
I'm like, oh god.
And then
I don't like Silverbolt.
And then I liked him more when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, Silverbolt's here. I remember him being my favorite. And now I'm like rewatching it, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe he'll grow on me as we continue on through the series, but like,
I'm sure the Fusors will definitely grow on us.
But like right now, I find his altruism grating. Especially,
you've gotten too used to Rat Trap and Dinobot.
Well, and to be perfectly honest, especially as a like fairly not necessarily cynical, but pragmatic grown adult in his 30s who has been through some shit in life, like I find altruism irritating.
And well, Rat Trap says something after Silverbolt flies away. He's like, I just hate it when he does that. And I'm like, you've known him for like a week.
That's a good
What do you
point.
mean? How? And so the show's trying to give you this feeling that he's like an old comrade who's been around for a long time, and they're
Right.
starting to know each other's quirks. Dude, this is like the first mission you've gone on with him.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally joined the
It feels
Maximals
forced.
last week.
Yeah, it feels the relationship, that whole chemistry, the line. I just hate it when he does that. It feels oddly forced.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like Cheetor running off and being like, I hate it when he does that. Like that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is like the first time Silverbolt has been alone with Rat Trap on the show. So it feels gimmicky.
Have they even exchanged words one on one?
I think this is the first scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Yeah. And we cut to the Badlands, the wastelands, with the arachnids like hauling supplies.
Yep, they're towing they're in beast form, scurrying along, towing some cargo. And Black Arachnia, Tarantulus starts speaking to Black Arachnia's burnt like mind. Her eyes glow green as they do. And he's basically all like in regards to the fact that Black Arachnia is manipulating Quick Strike, he's basically all like, oh, play whatever games you want with him, but dare to cross me and I will fuck you up, bitch.
Right?
Yeah. And then
I don't like his mouth.
Yeah, so
let's talk about that for a brief moment.
Listeners, off air, I messaged Cal earlier as I was watching the episode, and I'm like, Transmetal Tarantulus in his beast form has a mouth that lip syncs as he talks, and I don't like it.
It's because instead of it feeling organic, like you know how when the spiders talk, their mouth parts just kind of like wiggle,
Right.
like almost like a puppet or something like that, right? This he looks like a vehicle, right? And he's completely doesn't move except the bottom part of his jaw just like flaps open and closed like a mechanical being instead of a juicy, like I've complained to you about this before.
Mm-hmm.
The transmetals look more like toys instead of animals when they're in their beast mode. They look like and in Tarantulus's case, he straight up just looks like a vehicle.
Yeah.
So when he moves, his eyes and face are completely unmoving, and there's just this mouth, like bottom jaw, like flapping up and down, and it's eerie because the show's better than that.
It's like droopy dick mouth.
It's weird. It's like a like a sperm whale talking.
Yeah.
Like it's just like this, like this little weird shaped mouth like flapping open, like a vehicle trying to talk, but instead of it having an animated face, it's like its hood just like flaps open and closed. That's what it's like.
Yeah,
except downwards instead of upwards.
It's weird.
I don't like it.
That's a good way of explaining it, though. I probably couldn't have got there with it.
I tried. Anybody watching along with us, if you're not and you're just a fan of the show and you somehow listen to us, well, thank you. But yeah, go check out the episode if it's been a few years since you've seen it, and tell us that like that's not the weirdest shit ever. It looks weird. I don't like it. I already don't like Tarantulus, so
I've actually already made the episode art for this particular podcast, and it is literally that shot of him like with his mouth like open. It is a still image of that.
There you go.
So the show art for this episode, folks. And
there you go.
Yeah, Tarantulus like beaks off Black Arachnia and then like uses his like psychic link to like cause her some pain, and then she like
oh right, he still has that psychic link bullshit.
Yeah, she like kind of quivers and like shakes in pain, and like one of the boxes on the trailer that she's towing like shakes loose and like falls on her, and Quick Strike is all like sugar bot.
Sugar bot, how many nice tokens do I have to put into you to get sex?
And she's all just like, fuck you, dude. And he's
the gig, like the act is up, and she's all like, out of my way.
yeah, and he's all like, just ain't no figure in a female.
Oh, is that what he says?
That is exactly what he says, and that made me cringe earlier. I was like, oh god.
I think we're supposed to cringe at him.
I hope so. This was 1997 though, so who knows?
I don't understand who would think it was. Who would think that character is interesting? Like, keep in mind they just killed off Scorponok and Pterosaur because the toys weren't selling, right?
Right.
On what sane planet is Quickstrike a more interesting character than either Pterosaur or Scorponok?
Or even a more interesting toy. I had the toy of Pterosaur did suck. I'll give you that. I also had the toy of Scorponok. Listeners, look, if you never had the Mega Beast Scorponok figure from like 1996, look up a picture of it. It was rad. It was a great toy. And how he looked in the show too was pretty accurate to the toy. The only difference is like the toy was black instead of gray. Which I don't know. Maybe that's why the toy didn't sell all that well. Was because like kids
didn't look like him.
Was because kids were watching the show and are like, "Oh, why is he black? Why isn't he gray?"
Oh,
like
dude,
he is
the
in the
toy
show.
is fucking rad.
Yeah, the toy was cool.
This is like some Predator, like badass alien bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, his tail comes up over top of him.
Yeah.
He can shoot a fucking bee? Why would you?
Yeah, he has a cyber bee, just like in the show. He has a cyber bee in one claw and missiles in the other. I remember that toy very, very vividly. It was a really cool toy. It was one of my favorite Beast Wars toys.
Huh. He looks almost more badass than he does on the show.
And his toy was... I never had a Quick Strike toy, but I saw it in the store, damn it. And Scorponok was way cooler. And just a way more interesting character.
Is talking just about the TV show and everything else aside,
right?
I've already tired of his gimmick. You notice both the Fusors gimmicks are kind of tiresome.
Yeah, like
you just were talking about how like the noble paladin gimmick is like tiring to you already.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done with Quickstrike's gimmick already.
Versus the Western Outlaw. What
if it was subtle? If it was subtle,
he even
like,
says
like,
what in tarnation. Like
he does,
God.
yeah. if it was more subtle, if he was like, "Oh, howdy there, blah blah blah, don't mind if I do," but it's not subtle. They just like go nuts with it.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Quick Strike toy looks shit. Also, I don't like the prehensile arms of Quick Strike and Megatron. Don't like it. Do you know what I mean? I don't like the idea of like having like a slinky tail as an arm, which both Megatron and Quick Strike have in their robot form.
Right.
But yeah, we've talked about that already.
We did, yeah. I hate the Megatron, the Transmetal Megatron tail. I don't.
Look at my floppy right arm.
Yeah,
you cannot ignore its girth.
Exactly. I believe I mentioned on the last podcast that it looks like a flopping dick.
You certainly did.
Anyway,
moving on. We're in a cave or some bullshit. Yeah, we're in a cave, and what happens here? What the heck? Tarantulus
chuckles
like a Sith Lord, like summons. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's like beckoning with his arm for the little droid that he planted earlier to return.
Oh, yeah, right.
Crushing it.
Yeah, so he's basically like, he observes the cave that they're in, and he's all like, well, I don't think I'll need the Maximals after all, because I really like this cave. Fuck Megatron. I'm going to make this my new lair. And so he summons the like homing beacon thing that he planted earlier to attract the Maximals and crushes it, because he's like, I don't think I'll need the Maximals after all.
Indeed. That won't bite him in the butt, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so he laughs maniacally, and then we cut back to Rat Trap and Silverbolt, and Rat Trap is in his race car mode, and he loses the signal, and he's all like, shit, how are we gonna find him now? And Silverbolt is like, we just follow our nose.
Wherever it goes.
And that's literally what they do. And yeah, quite literally. Yeah. Rat Trap literally starts sniffing the ground, and then we cut back to the Predacon, the arachnid trio back at the Energon cave. And yeah, they exchange some words, and Tarantulus like wanders around and looks up and sees on the ceiling in one section of the cave a whole bunch of stable Energon cubes.
Too much energy. Actually, a sufficient amount of Energon, according to Tarantulus.
Yep, a sufficient amount to power them for a very long time, apparently.
Yeah, Black Arachnia is like, oh, looks like something's percolating in that devious brain.
And he's all like, yes, this will make a wonderful new lair. For all of us. And she's like, what do you mean for all of us? He's like, you, me, perhaps the Fusor as well. Your new boyfriend can come too.
As long as I can watch on occasion. That's probably the best Tarantula Man I've ever done.
As long as I get you on weekends.
Oh, Jesus.
And yeah, he's like, yeah, an arachnid trio aligned against Megatron, and Black Arachnia just like bursts out into laughter, and it's all like, you against Megatron? You're out of your mind.
Web face or something. Webs.
Yeah. And
he taps his head and he's like, but I'm still inside yours. As pertaining to her mind.
Yeah. So they're still, pointing out that they still have a psychic link. And
he really rubs it in that she's basically his slave this episode. And this is when I'm uncomfortable with it. And I wish, like, I'm like siding with Black Arachnia this episode.
Oh, 100%. I think we're supposed
you too?
to.
You're supposed to, yeah. Because I'm like, holy shit, how do you get free of this fucking menace?
Yeah, because, like, she in her own right is kind of a sadistic, evil bitch, but, like, watching her, like, quite literally be abused is extremely uncomfortable.
I already don't like Tarantulus when he's not, like, psychically dominating Black Arachnia. So that added flavor really... Like, I've said this to you before. I feel like Tarantulus is he fulfills the villain role almost better than Megatron because I hate him more.
Right.
And I don't hate his character on the show, mind you, right? Like, I don't hate the writing for him or the character design. That's what I'd say. He has good character design. I mean, I hate him personally, which means that he's a good villain.
Yeah.
And this is one of those episodes where I really want to see him get his comeuppance.
So Quick Strike interjects, and Tarantulus like makes a sales pitch to him basically, and Quick Strike is like basically says that he doesn't really mind working for Megatron, but he feels he wishes he could thrash things more, which I'm just like, sure. okay. And Tarantulus is like, oh, you join me and you can do all the thrashing you want.
Right.
And I'm like, Jesus, is it really that all? Is that all it really takes? Like, do you want someone that fucking like easy to manipulate on your side?
Don't you?
No,
You could just throw him at the enemy.
no, because then like someone else could just make the same offer and he'll be like, oh, okay.
It's not even a high price.
Yeah. Oh, just more thrashing. It's like, well, how do you even quantify that? Like it's incredibly vague. You need to start getting into the brass tacks. It's like, okay, like how much thrashing can I do? Oh, excuse me. How much thrashing can I do on your team versus the amount of thrashing I get on Megatron's team? How many
How do you
thrashes?
quantify it?
Yeah, how many thrashes per day? Megatron over here is offering me 3 thrashings per day. You're only offering me 2 thrashings per day on weekdays, but 5 thrashings per day on Saturdays and 4 on Sundays.
Yeah,
That's still more thrashing.
That technically true.
But Megatron's also offering to let me do some thrashing. Let us do some thrashing role play together. So, you know.
Also, he lets me use the Xbox every other day.
Please, this is 1997.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was I thinking?
The N64.
The Nintendo. Yeah.
The PS1. Cheers. Or just the PlayStation.
You can play Pokemon Snap.
Now
I'm wondering when it came out.
You can play the Beast Wars PlayStation game. Cheers.
Oh God.
What in tarnation?
You lied to me, boss. You said this was a good game.
That features too much Energon. Oh, man.
Megatron strikes again. Can you tell listeners that there's not much going on in the episode?
Yes, the planet has Energon.
We're like quantifying thrashings as a form of currency. So literally like yada yada yada. We're halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
And basically, Tarantulus maniacally laughs.
Yeah, this scene isn't even important anymore.
It's not.
I'm gonna jump ahead.
Yeah, Silverbolt and they're sniffing around. Silverbolt and Rat Trap. And with his mighty elf eyes, Silverbolt spotted an obvious tire tracks going through the desert.
Yep.
I'm like, wow, yeah, they, instead of sniffing around, why didn't he take to the skies to look for tracks? But whatever.
Yes.
We must track them down, Rat Trap, for we are something, something, something. The Rat Trap's like, oh man, I thought Optimus's speeches were bad.
Yep.
And I'm like, they both can be bad, but one is better than the other. So it's like the show's acknowledging that Silverbolt's annoying.
Yeah.
That always irks me in a TV show is seems aware of its shortcomings.
There is a term for that in storytelling. It is called hanging a lantern on something.
Right.
It's
right. You've mentioned this on our other podcast, Alphanumeric.
Right.
The Reboot podcast, if anyone's listening and unaware that we do Reboot as well. Yeah. You've mentioned that on that show. Yeah. Hanging a lantern is when... Oh, it was the Al's Diner one. When at the end they were like, are you telling me that all of this could have been avoided because you personally know Al? And she's like, that's what I was trying to say. And I'm like, yeah. That's when you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, for the listeners, like hanging a lantern is essentially writers basically trying to excuse shitty writing by writing something usually like a really contrived plot point or something that's really obvious or something that's really forced, yada yada yada. So much so that like you're picking up the viewer is picking up on it, and the writers know that the viewer is going to pick up on this. So what they do is they have the characters in the story acknowledge how obvious or forced or stupid a particular
Or
plot
inconsistent.
Yeah, or just acknowledge something that the writers are aware is a problem in the story, and they know the viewer is going to pick up on it as well. So
And they've already done that with Silverbolt.
Yeah.
Yeah, through Rat Trap.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Of that phrase.
Yeah, it's a really, really old TV. It's most common in TV, but it happens in movies as well. It's a really old and common TV trope of just writers trying to basically
nod to the camera.
Basically excuse their own shitty writing, essentially.
Yeah, like Rat Trap is telling the audience that Silverbolt's speeches, his noble speeches, are annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, yeah, dude. Tell your writers.
Yeah, maybe like you can write a character who gives speeches, but actually have them be good speeches. Like most of the time, like the speeches that Optimus gives are actually pretty good and inspiring.
And they're spread out and timed. But Silverbolt does speeches just in between scenes for no reason.
And they're really...
And so they fall short.
And they're all really corny. And we know that they're
shallow.
Yeah, and we know that they're corny and shallow. And... so the show is getting away with that by having Rat Trap be all like, man, this guy's speeches are really corny and shallow. Am I right?
Am I right, fellow kids?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they know.
It's annoying. Didn't bother me at all when I was, 12, but at 36, it does.
Acknowledging it makes it worse for some reason.
It does. It really does.
Right? It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's Optimus. Nothing's worse than that, though.
Oh, fucking Super Ape.
Yeah. We're referencing season 1.
Yep. The episode Victory. Which we did a podcast about, because we do a podcast about every episode. So go and listen to that.
Yeah. So we cut back to Tarantulus and Black Arachnia, and Tarantulus finds Black Arachnia, I don't know, picking up a missile or some sort of like beacon. And he's like, What are you up to, witch? She's like, I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah, she's picking up she's grabbing like some kind of tool out of a chest. And she's all like, she mentions like something along the lines of like, oh, I'll get my I'll get my revenge or whatever with that data that I took from Megatron's data tracks or something along those lines. So
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So she acknowledges that. I only point that out because it is like. It's right. It's important. It's moving a subplot forward.
Yeah, and Tarantulus is
not
like,
even. It's kind of just reminding us of a subplot, but
reminding us that, hey, by the way, she has secret information.
Yeah.
And Tarantulus is like, hey, tell me. If you're not going to share your toys, tell me what you're going to do. And she refuses, and he's all like, well, I'll just rip it out of your mind using our psychic link, and she screams in pain. And then he gives up and kind of scoffs, and he says, it seems a section of your circuits has been blocked to me.
Right.
And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, as she like defiantly like takes a defiant stance with him. And it's very like semi-spiritual or psychic, because he's all like, open your mind to me, Quaid, open your mind. Well, sorry, wrong. That's on our Total Recall podcast.
I'm not Hauser. I'm Quaid.
I'm not Hauser. Who is this Hauser anyway? I hear he's a very good-looking guy, but I'm not him.
Howdy, stranger. This is Hauser. Man, the first
I
time
know what you're thinking. How is that me when I am you? But I must tell you that you are not you. You are me.
I remember the first time I saw that movie was when I was. It would have been really like I was 5, and that movie came out in 1990 when I was 5. So like it must have been. My mom had rented it on VHS,
Amazing.
and she had like a bunch of her friends over, and I just sat in the living room with them and watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the first time I ever saw the movie. And the part where he like sticks the thing up his nose to get the like transmitter or whatever it is out.
Holy shit.
That scared the shit out of me when I was like 5 years old.
The 5-minute scene where he's just ripping this like small apple-sized object out of his fucking skull.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure the human body doesn't stretch like that.
Well, I didn't think that way when I was 5, you know.
Right? And I'm sure part of that shot is like an a silicone like recreation of his head.
Oh, I've seen the movie as an adult several times.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely an animatronic.
And
you could tell it's an animatronic.
Even child me could tell, but I was like, man, like I don't think people realize that like the nasal opening of bone and the cartilage, like his nose would be, you know, I don't know if you know, but when you break your nose, like there's heavy bruising under your eyes and you can't breathe and it swells. Like
I've never broken my nose, so
it's not fun, and that would have absolutely fucking destroyed the cartilage and maybe even like some of the bone in his like nasal opening. And I remember watching that, and he just like cleanly pulls it out, and there's like barely any blood or anything. And I'm like,
he pulls it out as he's going all like.
It's a 3-minute scene where he agonizingly rips a small apple out of his nose and screams like only Arnold can.
Yeah, it's this like golf ball sized orb that he
pulls out. That's a good size approximation.
Yeah.
Golf ball, yeah. And I'm like, I know he's got a huge nose, but is that possible? The tracker, it's free. And I'm like, how did they get that in there?
Is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. At least in Total Recall.
So we're back at the Predacon base in Megatron's chambers, and he's in his little hot tub.
And Quaid looks over the edge and drops the arms, and he says, "See you at the party, Victor."
Come on, Cohagen, give these people air. I'll get your ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars.
Jesus. See you at the party, Richter. Anyway, so yeah, Megatron's in his chambers in his little hot tub, and Waspinator radios in and is all like, satellite dish finished. And Megatron's like, excellent, you've done well, Waspinator, cheers. And this is the one part of the episode I really like, and it's this like little like throwaway bit where so behind Waspinator in the background you see the satellite dish erected, and Inferno is by like one of the pillar. It's like being held up on a tripod. It's a tripod, yeah. And Inferno is like standing at the base of one of the pillars, and he just starts laughing and then like kicks it aside. And the dish like falls onto Waspinator.
And the video feed cuts out right as like Waspinator's turning and like shielding himself from being crushed by the satellite.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like he's just keeping them busy because Megatron doesn't seem that worried.
Yeah.
He just like switches channels and goes, "Oh, I wonder how the others are faring." And he tries to radio Tarantulus, but doesn't go through.
Yeah, he tries radioing all of them one by one, and then he's like, "Anyone? Blast those arachnids!" Because he figures out they're ignoring him.
What are they up to now? And I'm like, what did he expect?
Yeah, like, what did you expect?
Bro.
Like, should have fucking sent Inferno with Tarantulus and Black Arachnia. I mean, look what happened the last time he sent Inferno after them. Tarantulus got burned alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that was an agent, like, that was a very important piece to that puzzle.
Yeah.
A pawn, very important to his game that he was, like, playing. Fuck, he even, like, came back to life. And then Megatron sees him later, and he's like, "Holy shit, Inferno's alive! Let's get out of here!" So, we enter a game of cat and mouse with Tarantulus and Black Arachnia now in that cave.
Right.
And Tarantulus is like, "You can run, you can hide, but you can't escape my claws." Something like that.
Something like that. So Black Arachnia drops down from the ceiling and transforms into robot form. And
grabs a dagger?
Yeah, she has a dagger, which presumably is what she took out of the toolbox a couple scenes ago.
No, she threw that at Tarantulus, whatever she had taken out. That's how she made her escape.
Oh, okay.
When she was like writhing in like agony, she like threw the missile or the pod or the beacon or whatever it was at Tarantulus. Tarantulus is like momentarily got stunned and she transformed and like crawled away.
Oh.
So this presumably is on her person.
So she just has this weird like 4-bladed dagger.
Like a Mortal Kombat dagger. Yeah.
Yeah, so so this blade that appears out of nowhere basically she's all like, "Sever the link," and then she like kicks a Energon cube because they're by a bunch of Energon cubes. She kicks an Energon cube free and catches it and like puts it in between this like.
The dagger transforms and separates into 4 separate blades as if to hold something in the center, such as an Energon cube.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a bladed like vice grip, basically.
Yeah, like it's meant to hold and crush a Energon cube.
Yeah, so
very weird because we've never seen this device before.
No. So she's like, sever the psychic link between us, or I'll crush this cube and slag us both.
Yeah, I'm tired of being your bitch.
Yeah. And Tarantulus,
and he's like, "You're bluffing, bitch."
And she's all like, "No, I'm not, fucker."
And she's like, "Okay, you asked for it."
Yeah.
And she increases her grip, and
blue
fire starts to torment her.
Yeah, she starts like shorting out from like from
processed pure Energon.
Yeah, like slowly splitting the cube open. And then the psychic link is actually visualized as like a blue like energy cable connected to each of their heads. And Tarantula starts shorting out too, and
because they feel the same pain.
Yeah, Yeah, he's all like, oh, the psychic link works both ways. I can feel your pain. And she's all like,
Yeah.
sever the link. And he's like, never. And she's like,
Never.
And she's like, well, fuck us both then. And then
Yeah, I'd rather us both go.
yeah,
For her. You go, girl.
Yeah, she's like, I'd rather us both die than continue to be your slave or something like that.
Good play.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it if it was someone else that was like less Tarantulus like, maybe she could stomach that, but like he's annoying. He taunts her psychically throughout the episode. Like this is atrocious.
Yeah, he's
Like,
he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So
it's like, you know what? Take him out with you. Good thinking. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, so after back and forth, like he concedes and then severs the link, and she throws the blade away and is all like, I told you I'd be free. And he's all like, well, I'm going to kill you now, so it's not like you're gonna live to enjoy it. And then Quick Strike shows up and is all like, oh, better save it. Better save it, Big T. The Maximals are here. And I'm all like, dude, this guy was just like weren't you like coming to your, like, why weren't you trying to like come to the aid of your newfound girlfriend? Like, you've been fawning over her like this entire episode.
Yeah. Is he just coming into the conversation and thinks they're just having a little squabble? Like, is he severely unaware of how ready they are to kill each other?
I mean, Tarantulus
Yes.
did just say he was going to kill her, and like Quick Strike doesn't really seem bothered by that, beyond the fact that they have more immediate concerns in the approaching match.
Maybe he's so used to Predacons like threatening each other like that.
Yeah, but he's only been part of the Predacons for a week. Much like Silverbolt has only been part of the Maximals for a week.
Maybe that's his way of diffusing it, because he's a tiny little man who could not take Tarantulus. Except that it's shown that he's not afraid of anyone.
Yeah.
Like, remember, he immediately picked a fight with Silverbolt.
Oh yeah, and like I didn't mention this earlier, but like the way that Tarantulus finally convinced him to work against Megatron is Tarantulus was like, "Oh, so you fear Megatron?" And he's he's all like, "What in tarnation? I fear no one."
Right. He used that, his ego,
right,
to get him to join him. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, well, I understand if you fear Megatron." And he was like, fuck you, I don't fear Megatron. Of course I'll join you for now.
What's wrong, McFly? Chicken?
Book. So, cue some rock music, and all the arachnids like crawl to a rocky outlook, and it shows they're afraid of two Maximals for some reason. Rat Trap and Silverbolt.
Bird Dog.
And Tarantulus like clenches his fist, and he's like, Maximals.
I'm probably just gonna call Silverbolt Bird Dog for the rest of the series, just so you and the listeners know.
And Quick Strike seems pumped because he's like, finally something I could sink my teeth into.
Yeah. So a battle goes down, and I don't know. To be honest, like it's not a particularly interesting battle, at least not to me anyway.
Not really. For some reason, Silverbolt ejects his two wing missiles that he can fire, catches them, and then throws them before they ignite and then propel themselves.
Yeah, it was a weird maneuver.
Just showing off the animation, but it seems less efficient than just shooting them out of your wings.
Yeah.
Be cautious, my friend. We don't know what we're getting into. And yeah, it's a boring fight.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's like, so I wasn't a big fan. I mean, neither of us were big fans of Coming of the Fusors Part 1 and 2, but like, at least that was actually a pretty good battle in Part 2 there. That kind of stretched
Yes,
out
we can
throughout
break down.
yeah, like that stretched out like through the entire second part of the episode. Um, much like the battle at the end of Aftermath, like this battle doesn't really. I don't know, like it feels like it's a battle just to have a battle.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean? Like it just
it's self-fulfilling because like Tarantulus is the one that brought them here,
yeah.
so it feels a little weak.
Right. Yeah, so Tarantula yeah, so
Oh, there's that scene where Silverbolt like stops himself from throwing a missile at Black Arachnia.
yeah, and Tarantula
She looks
shows
all
up.
scared.
Tarantula shows up and Rat Trap is all like, you handle the spiders, I'll handle the fusor. Using that word again. I think I've heard the word fusor at least 4 times in this episode.
They say it a lot. They want you to know. They want the kids to know what they're called. So when they ask their mom to buy them the new Transformers thing, they know exactly what they're after.
Yeah. They're
Because yeah,
there were like fusors were an entire like subline of like the second year Beast Wars toys. Like there were way more fusors than just these two.
yeah, I can imagine. I've googled some of them.
Most of them are
Some
pretty
of them are
stupid
pretty
looking.
ugly. Yeah. I'm like, oh god, this was not a successful run. I can tell just from looking at them.
Yeah.
And so the basic gist of it is Silverbolt like doesn't throw his bombs at Black Arachnia. He's like, no, it is not right to strike a female. And I'm like, man, the Fusers are weird about women.
Yeah.
Even a female Predacon.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, really? Like you're
And
like you're in battle, like she's been shooting at you, like
she's been shooting at you. There's only soldiers, buddy.
yeah.
Right? Like
Who cares? And
even Rat Trap's like, hey, that widow's about as female as a piston. And I'm like, what?
I don't know what that means, but I'm on Rat Trap's
Agree?
side with this.
Yeah, Quick Strike's like, hey now, that my sugar bot.
Yeehaw!
And he's like possessive of her. And I'm like, it's not inherently sexist because just calling attention to like chivalry or like male and female like societal roles.
Right.
There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's just a little cringy. Both of them. Both the Fusors are a little bit cringy when it comes to Black Arachnia.
And then we get a an action shot of Silverbolt like charging toward Quickstrike, and he's all like, "You claim to be the toughest of us all, but have done little to prove it, Snake." And I'm like,
just keep jawing, Wolfie.
And I'm like,
Okay.
All right. Man, I don't
And
like
then they have
either
a
of these
really
characters.
uninspired fight.
Yeah.
Like Quickstrike bites his foot with his stupid cobra arm. Silverbolt goes ow and like howls out in pain, and then just hammers at him.
It just starts like
his missiles are also axes. I don't.
just
Clubs.
Yeah, just it's like they're like clubs with like serrated blades on them. And he just starts like bashing Quickstrike's cobra arm with it until he finally lets go, and Quickstrike falls back, and Silverbolt gets shot by Tarantulus, and Tarantulus is like, yelling out loud, "Oh, we must keep the Maximals away from the cave at all costs."
Don't let them near the cave, guys.
And Rat Trap is all like, "Oh, the cave, huh? Let's go take a look."
Almost like Tarantulus wanted them to go look in the cave.
Yeah, you think?
It's another like nod to the
So the Predacons
bicker.
Yeah, they bicker, and then Silverbolt flies toward the cave, and then there's a big explosion, and Silverbolt
He flies back and goes, "Ow!" As his body like tumbles aside. So presumably he blew it up.
Yeah, presumably.
It happens kind of off screen.
And that's what Tarantulus wants us to believe. Because Black Arachne is like, "Oh, what happened?" And Tarantulus is like, "They blew up the cavern. Back to base."
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
And so
He's like, "Damn those Maximals."
Yeah. And so they all fuck off, and Quick Strike says some cowboy bullshit and then leaves. And
Rat Trap is like, "Hey, nice shot."
But it wasn't me.
It was not I who. But then who?
Yeah. And Rat Trap's like, "Oh, well, I suppose you want to go after them." And then Bird Dog is like, "No, actually, I'm pretty tired. Let's just go back to base." Essentially. And so we're back at the dark side, and the arachnids are reporting to Megatron, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the Maximals blew up the cavern. Everything's destroyed." Tarantulus is delivering this. And, and Megatron's like, "Everything? The Energon station? The cubes? Yeah, no?
Yes?
Yes? No? What? Yeah, Tarantulus is like, "Everything completely destroyed. The Energon cubes as well." And he's like,
especially the Energon cubes. Oh, like there's not even one left, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm really overselling this.
"I am terribly sorry we failed you, mighty Megatron. I'm afraid
we'll just have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Somewhere else, far away from that location, which is destroyed, by the way."
Yeah, totally destroyed. You
can trust me.
Yeah, it's not even worth going back to check it out, because like it's just rubble now.
All the supplies, everything, it's just gone.
Totes rubble. Totes destroyed, bro. And Megatron's all like, basically like, well, fuck all of you then. Get out of here.
Holy shit, I don't know what I expected of any of you. Get the fuck out of my sight.
Yeah.
Before I turn you into a lamp.
Yeah, and so we cut back to the cavern, as you could probably imagine, and Tarantulus has like a lab set up, and he's like, "Amazing what one well-placed charge can do, isn't it?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he planted the bomb, and he's all like, "If ever so humble, there's no place like home." And he laughs maniacally.
And he has
at his new Energon lab.
Yeah, the beginning of a new lab.
Yeah. And so
I always wonder where he gets the supplies for his labs.
Right? I mean, I guess he has to like steal them from the dark side, but like you'd think someone on that ship would be a quartermaster.
That was Scorponok's job.
Oh, actually,
do you remember
that would kind of make sense, actually.
Yeah. Do you remember him? Here's actually some argument for that. In Dark, what was the Dark Rhinox?
This is when you started saying that. This is the exact episode that I was thinking too. Dark Designs, when he's in,
because we had a particular disagreement with a guest host on the show about he had a different cut of the episode. You see, there was a computer terminal with Scorponok on it, and there were a whole bunch of boxes, presumably of like different munitions and that kind of thing. And it seemed like some sort of like he was doing some sort of inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So presumably the quartermaster was Scorponok, and that's gone out the window.
Yeah. Maybe Tarantulus is the new quartermaster.
Oh god, that explains a lot.
Yep.
Well, I can't count on Waspinator or Inferno to know how to count, so I'm afraid it'll have to be you, Tarantulus. I mean, would you count? I certainly wouldn't let either of them. Waspinator wouldn't destroy everything, but I don't know if he would be able to do enough math to figure it out. But Inferno would absolutely blow up the base.
He'd be like trying to do like some sort of oh god, I don't know. He'd be trying to like move like some crate around and would like bonk into something, and then like something else would fall on him, and he would get all mad and be all like,
Angry.
burn, you will burn, and he'll just like burn the whole fucking thing down.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I pictured it. You will burn for your insolence.
For the royalty.
He says as he blows the base up. You know how when you bonk your head on something, you get inexplicably mad at the inanimate object? You like hit the wall or something and you get angry and you like hit it just to make yourself feel better?
Yeah.
Or at least
kinda.
I've done that when I was younger. Yeah. He has that like times 10.
If I
Absolutely.
accidentally like knock something over, like I'll briefly be mad at the object for falling. Like briefly, like only for like a split second, but my instant reaction will be to be angry at the thing that I just knocked over, and then I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Speaking of oh for fuck's sake, that has been episode 4 of season 2 of Beast Wars, Tangled Web.
It sure has.
Yep. Here on Too Much Energon, we rate episodes on the Too Much Energon scale, which ranges from it is a 3-point scale that goes from not enough Energon, which is anything from the worst episode ever, to not that great, to sufficient Energon, which is an episode that's okay to pretty good, to Too Much Energon, which are episodes that are pretty great, to literally the best episode ever. Cal, what are you giving Tangled Web?
This is not enough Energon for me, dog.
Yeah.
Like it's so the funny thing is you and I can complain and like dissect and talk about why an episode pisses us off or is bad or has discrepancies or whatever, but
right.
It's just meh. Like there's nothing that really like is bothersome. I do like that Black Arachnia had the giant enough ovaries to like kick Tarantulus's ass, and she's free of that guy now. That's satisfying.
Yeah,
but the episode's not great.
No. Yeah, I am also giving it a not enough Energon. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, this episode does advance, if ever so slightly, like it advances a bunch of little plot threads in the season forward, but it also weirdly kind of feels like filler at the same time. So like in a
well, what are the plot points? I'm gonna guess. Tarantulus is a new base. Black Arachne is free from Tarantulus's control. That's it. I think that's it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, those two points.
Here's what I'll say. I think the big problem with this episode is this whole thing could have been a subplot in another episode.
Yes. The whole episode feels like the subplot of another episode with more important things happening in the forefront.
Exactly. Like
this could have happened in the background.
Yeah. And we didn't need to waste so much time with Silverbolt and Rat Trap. A lot
of the dialogue was unmemorable.
Yeah, or frankly, like waste a lot of the time with Black Arachnia and Quick Strike, because that didn't even really go anywhere in the end.
That doesn't develop their personalities. It just makes me hate the Fusors more.
Yeah, and all of that.
The back and forth between Rat Trap and Silverbolt was unnecessary.
Yeah, all that shit kind of just felt like it was filling time, and because of that, that's what I mean. Like, this could have just been like a subplot in another episode where, like you said, more important things were going on. So,
I want to know,
not enough Energon.
What I want to know is, what was Dinobot up to that last episode?
Yeah, Dinobot wasn't there. We didn't see him at all. Didn't even get mentioned.
I think he was like out in like a rocky like a rocky area, and it was like raining and there was lightning, and he was reciting poetry and existentialism. What it means to be alive.
Yeah, as he holds like a golden disc in each of his raptor hands. He's like looking up at the sky, like quoting Macbeth.
I doubt anybody's just listening. Like, this is their first episode, but like what we're talking about actually happened in this TV show. Like this is real.
And then the polar bear shows up and is all like, I've been looking for one of those.
My old rival. Polaris. Oh, there you go. There's a polar bear's transformer name.
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Polaris. Yeah.
There was actually a polar bear Beast Wars toy.
Oh. Was his name Polaris?
His name was Polar Claw. It was actually
I like mine better.
he was a mega beast, just like Scorponok, but I had him as well. He was a pretty dope toy. He was actually supposed to be on the show at some point, but didn't end up getting included due to budgetary reasons.
I'm looking at the toy now. Okay. He's bear-like. See what is. He's thick. He's thick. Oh, his robot form kind of just looks like white and red Optimus, though? No, not really. Never mind.
He's got a big, like, shit-eating grin on his face. I'm
looking.
Not even a grin, really, but it's like teeth. And it
teeth?
looked.
He doesn't look like Predator.
He was a max.
Oh, was he? Oh, well, he's a mammal, so he fits the bill.
Good point, yeah.
Creatures. Ichor blooded, like creatures and all the yes. See, I bring the science. I'm Cal. I'm Cal Guy the science guy. Where I question if scorpions are arachnids and provide other useful science questions and answers.
And on that note, that has been the 4th episode of Season 2 of Beast Wars. We will be back next week with the 5th episode, Maximal No More.
Dun.
If you want...
Just the title alone is daunting.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to support the show and you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review. We got a couple of those recently, and we thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to get
us with visibility.
Indeed. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email, toomuchenergon@outlook.com, or you can find us on Twitter at Too Much Energon. Send me a DM or just me. Also, check.
Slide your Beast Wars fan fiction into his DMs.
Yep, I assure you, I will read it, and I'll probably talk about it on the show, no matter what the subject matter.
Do you hear that, folks? It's your time to shine.
I could be setting myself up for something horrible.
Or something great. Yes.
Check out our website, www.toomuchenergon.ca. The triple W part is very important, otherwise the URL doesn't work. And I don't know enough about web stuff to actually fix that right now. So, listener, if you know how to fix that, write in and let me know.
Question.
On the website, you'll find embedded players for every episode of this show, as well as social media links, like our Facebook, facebook.com/toomuchenergon. If you want to hear more of me and Cal, and you're a fan of other mainframe entertainment shows, we also have another series called Alphanumeric, where we do this, but we talk about Reboot. That new episodes of that show go live every Friday.
Yeah, we got a little bit of everything for everyone. Unless you're not a fan of the 90s, in which case we have nothing for you.
Well, I got nothing.
Well, if you're a fan of, like, I'm gonna break my own rule here. But if you're a fan of, say, Metal Gear Solid, or
we actually didn't even
mention
Metal Gear this episode. I don't.
That's why I'm doing it now.
Oh, there we go.
And if you're a fan of Highlander, we talk about that a lot. Somebody listening right now is like, God damn it! They almost went a whole episode without mentioning either. And Cal, in the last couple minutes, swoops in, and it's not like I'm even accidentally. I'm not even making a reference to it. I'm just directly referencing it, which I don't think we've actually done yet.
I don't think so.
That means it doesn't follow the rules. That means we're okay. Technically, I followed the rules.
Long story short, even if you're not necessarily a fan of either this or Reboot, but you're probably in your 30s and you like nerd shit from the 80s and 90s, you'll still find some quality content in these podcasts that we provide.
Assuming you've listened to this far, you probably agree.
Or disagree. In which case, write in and tell us about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had it's not hate mail. We've had a very confused gentleman like chew us out.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's the only negative email we've actually received so far on either of our shows. Most of the feedback has all been positive.
Angry that we showed up in this Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Like we have control of that.
Yeah. If you're a newer listener to this show, like back in the early days of Too Much Energon, our first email we ever got was from this guy named I think his name was Robert, but I dubbed him Bobo. But he basically he saw a Facebook ad for our Facebook page and then commented on the Facebook page that it was irrelevant to his interest. And so I deleted his comment, and then he sent in an email basically ranting about the same thing. And so I read the email on the air. Word for word.
I'm like, why did he take so much of his time?
Yeah.
Of his day? Does he do that with every Facebook ad?
I hope so.
Can you imagine how tiring that man's day must be? Like emailing every single ad. Like, didn't you say he would have had to have gone on the Facebook page or the website to find your email?
Yeah, he would have actually had to have explored the Facebook page a little bit to find the email address to contact us. So.
I can't imagine having that much energy in order to tell people off that had no control over you seeing an ad for their page.
Right. I like to think that he does that for like every single podcast he sees an ad for that he does like that is irrelevant to his interests. And like we suddenly all become part of the like Bobo unrelated podcast cinematic universe.
Wow, that's deep. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, as we descend into madness,
yep,
we must depart.
Yes. Thanks for listening, everyone. As I said, we will be back next week. And until then,
Beast mode.